Welcome to another episode of Muscle in the Morning, brought to you by Iron Mag Labs. I'm your host, Dave Palumbo, and I'm here to bring you all the latest news in the world of bodybuilding and fitness. It's April 21st, 2014, and on today's show, the Predator speaks and poses with Miss Physique Olympia. Ed Nunn eyes the prize. Will the New York Pro Trophy stay in New York? Find out how pumping iron was funded. And women's MMA champion slams her rival for past steroid use. All that and much, much more only on Muscle in the Morning. Denmark's 2014 Loaded Cup competition took place this past weekend, and Mr. Olympia runner-up Kai Green and Ms. Physique Olympia Dana Lynn Bailey treated throngs of fans to a joint seminar and guest posing. Green's Facebook athlete page has over 1.5 million followers, and Dana Lynn Bailey has become so popular that she left MHP to start her own company. In just 3 hours, a 10-second Instagram clip of Bailey and Green posing received over 10,000 likes and nearly 1,000 comments. Denmark will never forget these two. The Arnold Classic Brazil is only days away, and the message boards are starting to light up. There's a lot of room for hype, and much of the speculation is a product of disproportionate media coverage. There's tons of talk about John De La Rosa, Juan Morel, William Bonnick, and Ben Pakulski, but that doesn't discourage veterans like IFBB pro Ed Nunn, who's going to Rio with all systems go. When asked what his mindset was for the contest, Nunn replied, quote, "I've been working with Chris Aceto and Charles Glass. Things are going good. Mindset is, let's get it on." There's still plenty of time for the New York Pro, but New York-based bodybuilder Hakeem Big Ack Williams says there's no such thing as idle time. From his jaw-dropping photos on Facebook to his new training video from Natural Vitamins, he wants everyone to know that he's going to bring it. When asked about his mindset for the competition, he shot back, quote, "What's going through my mind is focusing on me and trying to outdo the package I brought when I won my pro card." When the film Pumping Iron was made all those years ago, it was very hungry for investors. So Frank Zane, Ed Corney, and Arnold Schwarzenegger left Muscle Beach to stand atop turntables for the New York City art crowd at the Whitney Museum of American Art. They expected 300, but over 5,000 people showed up and crammed into the hall. The response was so impressive that it secured the funding for the movie that defined our sport then and now. This outtake from the original movie was so good, I just had to show you.
It's big.
And I went down and looked, and there were 5,000 people outside trying to get in.
Nobody's going to go in until we get a line here.
Inside the museum, Arnold, Frank Zane, and Ed Corney were rotated on a turntable in front of the New York City art crowd.
It was very sort of high concept idea.
It was a risky scheme, and it was a long, long way from Venice Beach. Moderated by New York Times critic Vicki Goldberg, the event brought together some of the most prominent art historians in the world to watch bodybuilding.
We're talking about a subject which is fascinating and quite present before our eyes a lot of the time. That is to say, the representation of the muscular body in art.
The next bodybuilder who's coming out doesn't need an introduction to a lot of you, but he does to a lot more of you. As I said before, he's the greatest bodybuilder in the history of the sport, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And then we had this discussions about, what is bodybuilding and compared to what art was, and how did Leonardo da Vinci and Rodin and all those guys come up with those muscles when they painted and sculpted muscular bodies.
The Whitney couldn't control the event because there were too many people there, so that instead of taking the money and putting it in a cash register, they had to throw the money into a pile on the floor.
Hey, move down, 2 lines, okay?
There was a 6-foot-high pile of $5 bills, and at the end of the day, the movie was financed, and the rest is history.
The Whitney Museum event proved to investors that the general public just might be interested in bodybuilding. Now, it was time to present Pumping Iron to the world.
Unless you live under a rock, you've heard of Ronda Rousey, the undefeated #1 pound-for-pound female MMA fighter in the world. She's defeated any and all that got in the octagon with her, but she's back in the news for a steroid rant against number 2 ranked pound-for-pound fighter Chris the Cyborg Justino. Rousey, who's never tested positive for PEDs, fears that Justino will taint the legacy of the sport because of her alleged steroid use. Justino tested positive for stanozolol in 2011 after winning a fight by TKO 16 seconds into the first round. The question remains, is this just pre-fight banter, or will the steroid witch hunt find its way into UFC as well? And that does it for yet another edition of Muscle in the Morning, brought to you by Iron Mag Labs. I hope everyone had a happy Easter this past weekend, and I just want to say happy birthday to Amanda. I'm your host, Dave Palumbo, reminding you to always be true to your passions, and make sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook.